All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Yeah, and thank you for the Tongyo Mudo team. They represented the U.S., and it's exciting that they also kind of came from our community, Clifton Family Church. So let's give them one more hand for bringing gold for USA. Um, so last week we had a chance to share on the topic of setting goals with God. For those who missed it, check it out. It's on our website. It was pretty good. So it's also foundational for today's sermon as well. Actually, this whole month, we're doing a series called Fresh Start. And the whole idea is to really set goals for the whole year and taking a month to really reflect on what is it that I want to offer for this year. So it's a Fresh Start series. There's 5 sermons. Again, last week we started with setting goals with God, just putting the framework of how do you actually include God in your goal setting process. Now today, I want to talk about your original self. And this is kind of important because unlike typical goal setting where we usually start with, okay, what do you want to do this year? What do you want to have, do, be? I really feel that the best kind of goal setting is really based off of self-awareness. And so today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into who you are. Okay, so a little bit different than typical services. This will be a little bit more interactive than you may feel comfortable. But don't worry, it's just asking a question and responding to it. Because I really want by the end of today, or this sermon, for you to come up with at least one, what I call identity statement. Okay? So I want you to leave this room with an identity statement in mind that you can actually think about and ponder this week, because that's going to be essential to set goals that are exciting to you. That's a really good fit. Okay, so that's really the outcome that I want for all of you. So as always, I like to start with definitions. So quick search online, and I found original. Created directly and personally by a particular artist, not a copy or imitation. So when we're talking about original selves, your original self, we need to find out who you are. That's not a copy or imitation, okay? And created personally by a particular artist. Which artist is that? God, right? We were created beings. God himself was the one who created humanity, humans, right? And each of us uniquely. And so it's important to remember that our origin, our design is actually divine. And self, this was also interesting, a person's essential being that distinguishes them from others. An essential being that distinguishes them from others. So in one sense, self, there is this aspect of uniqueness, okay? So we're gonna go into, this question of who are you, really? Who are you? So I want you to take the next couple minutes, turn to a neighbor and ask them this question. Who are you? Okay, wait. Before you start, you have to ask the question at least 5 times. They have to answer the same question at least 5 times, and then see what they say, and then you switch. And the person who has longer hair can start the questioning, okay? Ready, go. Ask the question 5 times. Who are you? See what comes up. All right, time's up. Time is up. Okay, if you can hear me, raise your hands high. And if the person next to you is still talking, close their mouth. Okay. All right, so I'd like to hear what you guys came up with. What were some of the answers of the question, who are you? What were some of the answers? Just shout it out. Yeah. Well, depends. What did they say? What did you say? So the question was, who are you, and what was the answer? Philip Soivan. Okay. So that was one of the ways the answer is your name, right? That's one way to answer, who are you? What were some other answers? God's son or daughter. Okay. If you believe you are God's son and daughter, you say, that's who I am. A caring woman. Okay. Maybe a characteristic of you, biological woman. What else? I am who I am. Whoa, that's very philosophical. Okay. That's too deep, man. I mean, actually, that's from the Bible too. I am who I am. Yes. All right. Right. You are an original person and you are of God. So there's many ways to answer this question. And there's no right or wrong way, but there's different layers, I would say, on what defines who you are. Some mentioned biological, nationality or ethnicity. I can say, I am a man. I'm Japanese American. So those are different ways. I'm 5'5", for those who are curious. Career. Maybe as someone said, who are you? I might say, I'm the pastor of the Clifton Family Church, or I'm an engineer, or I am an office worker. Or relationship with others. You might say, oh yeah, I'm a father to my 2 children and 2 cats. I didn't father them, but anyway, I own them. I fostered them, or I'm the husband of my wife, or I'm a sibling of 5 other brothers and sisters. So those are all relational identities. Or your religious belief. You might say from the get-go, I am a unificationist, or I'm a Christian, or I'm a Muslim. Faith is a very strong sense of identity. There's a strong sense of identity that comes with faith, and so you may associate yourself or define yourself based on your religious belief. And others mentioned some unique characteristics. I'm a caring person, or I'm humorous. So there's different ways that you can define yourself. So today, there's a quote I want to read here from the Divine Exposition of Divine Principle. Human beings are object partners embodied at the level of image, called individual embodiments of truth, and are discrete manifestations of the dual characteristics of God. I think someone was mentioning about their sense of identity with God, being created by God, and so on and so forth. This is straight from the Divine Principle, but the main point I want to draw from this passage is that we are each a unique individual truth body that reflects a certain aspect of God. Okay, so we are all these things that we mentioned earlier, biological, career, so on and so forth. But in the end, we need to know that we are reflections of our Creator in a unique way. Discrete manifestations of God. So, but in order for us to really kind of fulfill our kind of purpose, or for for living, for being here, it's really important that we take the time to understand who we are. What are our uniqueness that is a reflection of God? And the two questions I want to ask you guys today is, first, I want you to reflect on what are your gifts, okay? Actually, today we did buy a few sample sermon notebooks. So for those who are interested, in the back on your way out, you can purchase one. There's different options, but this is, I want you to take this time that you come to service as a way to reflect. It's not just listening to messages, but I want you to always be taking something away from the message that's personal to you. So I want to encourage you to always bring some kind of notebook, or you can do it on your phone as well. But please take notes and take time to reflect during the sermon or after, so that you can really get the most out of these messages. So take a few minutes, just a minute now. Write down at least 3 to 5 gifts that you have. And when I say gift, I mean like special talents, characteristics. What are things that you feel you've been gifted by God? You know, for example, let's see. For me, let's see, what are my gifts? I like numbers. I like really training others, empowerment, leadership. I'm also a pretty honest guy, so on and so forth. So think of characteristics that you have that you feel are gifts. Maybe you're musically talented. Maybe you're humorous. Maybe you're persistent. Maybe you're giving. Whatever it is, what are your gifts? Take a minute, write down at least 3 to 5 things. What are your gifts? What are my gifts? It would be nice if I can cue like reflection music. Maybe we can do that next time. Okay, let's wrap up that section. Next, what I want you to think about is, what are your passions? Okay, now this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So passions, what are passions? So passions are things that bring you joy, okay? So these are things that when you do, you kind of lose track of time. You feel like you're tapping into your creativity. You feel a lot of joy. Joy is, by definition, something that arises when you interact with something that reflects your own internal or external nature. Okay, so what brings you joy is what is a clue to your passions. So, for example, for me, I actually really enjoy doing trainings for others or empowering others, right? That's one of my passions. I also like video games, but I have to find a way to make that work. I enjoy achieving things. You know, you can see my room. I have like trophies. I did Taekwondo, and you know, I have certificates from school, and I just like achieving things. It's fun. And I also really enjoy having time with my wife and do new things and experience things like that. So those are some examples, but what really sparks joy in you? What are your passions? Please write down at least 3 things. What brings you joy? What are your passions? Let's take a minute. Okay, next. So this is going to be an important step. Now I want you to look at your list of passions and select one. Circle it or bold it if you're digital. Oh yeah, we have people watching online too. So for those who are online, please follow up with all the exercises here as well. And thanks for joining. So what does it look like? First, choose one passion. Choose one passion. That's the first step. And then I want you to imagine what does it look like if you were living that passion at a 10? Okay, let's say there's a scale 1 to 10, 1 being that you're not doing anything related to that passion at all, and 10 being that you're fully living into that passion. So for example, if my passion is, training or empowering others, what would it look like for me to live that passion at a 10? Well, maybe that means I'll be, doing trainings 5 days a week, or maybe that's too much. Maybe once a week is fine. But if I were doing that and really training our members, our pastors, our field leaders on a weekly basis, maybe that's what it means for me to live that passion. Or if your passion is singing, how often do you want to sing? Where do you want to sing? What do you want to sing for? What does it look like to be doing that at a 10 for you? What does that look like? So I want you to imagine what living one of your passions looks like for you. Okay? And then we're going to create an identity statement based off of that image. Okay? So first, imagine, raise your hand if you have some kind of image in your mind of living your passion, what that looks like. Don't worry, I won't call on you. Just raise your hand. Okay. Even if it's slightly blurry, but you kind of have an idea, raise your hand if you have an idea what that looks like. Okay, we have about a third of the room. We can give you another 10 seconds to think about it. Living your passion. What does that look like? All right. So now that you have that image in mind, we're going to capture that image in one statement. Actually just a few words. One adjective and one noun defining who you are, living your passion at a 10. So, for example, let's say, again, my passion being empowering, training others. If I were living that passion at 10, who would I be? And maybe that's in one adjective. Also, the adjective can be from your strengths, right? So remember, you create a list of strengths. So you can choose one of your strengths as the adjective and then add a noun. So who would I be if I were really empowering a lot of people? Maybe I am a leadership trainer, or what was it? What did I come up with? Anyway, something. Or let's say one of my strengths is humor, gifts. I mean, it just has to apply to me, okay? Nobody needs to judge. I think I'm funny, okay? So that's my one of my gifts. And then my passion is spending time with my wife. So then maybe the identity statement would look like, I'm a fun husband. Fun, right? Funny, maybe. Funny husband. Anyway, fun, humorous husband, or joyful husband. So one adjective, one noun that kind of represents who I would be if I was living my passion at a 10. One more example. Let's see. I like achieving things, I said, right? And one of my strengths is being persistent. I mean, people who know me will tell you, if I set my mind on something, I will not stop until I achieve it. So I know it's annoying to my wife sometimes. But so for me, one statement that would reflect who I am is I am a persistent achiever, right? I like to achieve things, and I'm dogged about getting there. So who I am, if I were really living into that, is I am persistently achieving, or maybe I'm an extraordinary achiever. That's a statement that reflects me living into my passion. So now I want you to take a minute now to reflect on one adjective and one noun that reflects you living your passion, one of those passions, out of 10. Go. 1 minute. Okay, let's bring it back. Oh yeah, these are some of my examples that I was gonna share. One thing is clarity is one of my gifts, so I put lucid leader, persistent achiever, fun husband. Okay, so those are some examples for me. Now, this is a verse that I found, 1 Peter 4:11. Let's read. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which God giveth, that God in all things may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. So here's one thing I found as a challenge for many people, is that when we talk about gifts and passions, many, especially those who are religious, they kind of tend to shy away from that. And even if you're not religious, you're like, I'm not worthy. I have so many more faults than strengths. And you feel like, why should I talk about things that I'm good at, when I have so many issues in my life? But what I want to point out here is that the biggest issue with the fall was not that, how do I say? The main issue was that we disconnected from God. So it's actually not a bad thing to be proud of what you do or be excited about your achievements. The key is to connect it back to and give credit to the source, which is God. That's the issue. It's kind of like music. If you put it on YouTube, it kind of flags it if you didn't give the right credit, or if you're writing an essay and you say it's yours, but then you don't actually cite the source, right? Same idea is that as long as you understand that your gifts come from God, it's all good to show it off. Just give glory to God. Because that to me is true humility. It's about really honoring the source for your gifts and subscribing to fully manifesting that gift for the sake of others. So in here, the verse says, let him do it as of the ability which God giveth, knowing that your gifts come from God, and to really give God glory for those gifts. So really, I feel God's hope for each of us is, imagine if all of us here are living into our passions that are uniquely given from God. How much joy would we feel in our lives? And how much joy would that naturally spill over to those near us, right? So what I envision for our community is every one of us living into our passions, freely sharing that with others, and give glory to God and through that whole process. That's the kind of community I envision for us in the future. But in order for us to do that, it does require you to do your homework. It's not just, God, tell me what to do. I will obey 100%. Aju. No. Aju actually means that I'm taking responsibility. Your responsibility is to figure out the gift that God gave you and to develop it, cultivate it, find a way to share it with the world. That's our responsibility. And on that foundation that you're clear and you're working on your gifts, then it becomes so much easier for you to offer that to God and to work with God to find a way to share it with others. But finding your gift, cultivating it, that's your homework. That's your job. And so let's really look into what that is and really hone in on it and develop it. This is a quote from Father Moon. You must live your life in a way that God can move with you and history can move with you. God reveals his will to central persons in order to fulfill his providence. So I mentioned it already, God does work through central persons and each of us actually, in small ways and some big ways. But really, for you to allow God to work more freely through you, it requires this self-awareness. So to recap, your original self, we talked about many factors that define us, and we created a sample identity statement. And the key is to acknowledge that your gifts come from God. So I'd like you to reflect on what does it look like to live your passion and be able to reflect and share right after this sermon. And the challenge for the week is I want you to come up with 3 identity statements and state them daily out loud in front of a mirror. So let's say I'm a joyful husband. I'm a joyful husband. I'm a joyful husband. Kind of like try that identity statement on and then adjust as necessary throughout the week. This is really important because this is a sermon series. Next week, based on these identity statements, I want you to come up with breakthrough goals. And I'm going to walk you through that process. So on the foundation of knowing who you are, your goal setting becomes much more powerful, much more stable and exciting. And so we're going to be doing that next week. It's going to be exciting to really set clear vision for what you want to create, achieve, offer in 2023. So that's a challenge for the week. Try to come up with 3. You can start with the one that you worked on today, but try it on for a week and adjust. So, last week we did setting goals with God. Today, my original self. Next week is going to be God's dream and mine. So we talked about breakthrough goals. So we're going to be thinking about what God really wants and what do I really want and how does that come together. And we're going to be creating customized goals for each of you. And then future sermons are going to include dealing with doubt. So as we set goals, one of our biggest challenges is the self-doubt that comes. And this is natural, but how do we actually deal with that? And finally, on January 29th, we are going to have a vision casting service where we're going to share about a vision for our community. Dr. Young will be back. He's actually coming back a little earlier than planned on the 25th. And we're going to have a large service. So it's not going to be here. We're going to actually rent a space. It's going to be a big deal on the 29th. And we're going to invite all the members from New Jersey to come. And we're going to have a great celebration on the 29th. Also on that day is we're going to be honoring Father and Mother Moon's birthday, 2 parents' birthdays celebration. So that's going to be a big service. So anyway, it's a new year, 2023. We just finished the first week. And I had a chance yesterday to work on my goals, so I'm feeling pretty pumped. But I really want you to taste the joy of, there's a lot of beeping going on. What's going on here? Goal setting. I know someone mentioned it's not their cup of tea, and that's fine. But there is a spiritual practice that connects with goal setting. And that is really uniting your mind and body, envisioning something that you really want, and working towards manifesting it. It's the exact same process that God went through when He created. And humans are the only creation that have been given the same quality to also be able to create. All other animals or all other creation cannot create, but only humans can. So in reflection of God's identity, part of us, what makes us divine, is our ability to co-create. To practice that, you gotta set goals. You gotta set goals, because the setting of goals is practicing imagining something that doesn't exist yet and working towards making it reality. That's what makes you divine, your ability to create. And so I want you to really practice that and see how that is a reflection of God's nature by you creating your goals and achieving them this year. So let's be like God's children. Let's reflect God's image by being creative and really sharing our gifts with our community and society. Thank you very much.